Okay, we are now at a point in our research paper process where we have already learned how to set up our works cited page. We've also learned how to access articles using the Gale database and where to find the citations and things for them. Now we've reached what I would consider as step 4 of the research paper process, which means we are going to be finding sources. Now, disregard how it's formatted in step 4 here. I'm going to change the title of step 4, but it's going to be similar to what we're doing anyway. So I'm actually working here with Riley, who has agreed to let me use her screen sharing as how we're going to do the next step. So go ahead and click on step 4. And inside of step 4, you will see that it says digital note cards for source number 1. Go ahead and click on that assignment. So for this particular assignment, there's a lot to it. And the first thing that it says is in order to do the digital note cards for this source, you'll need to have the following document. So Riley, go ahead and open up that document. And yes, you got to make a copy. And just like every other thing that we've ever turned in for this, we're going to right now delete the words copy of, and then we're going to type our first and last name so that we know exactly what we're looking for. So what you're looking at in this document is a citation that I used from a different database. The title of the article was Sports and Drug Use, and it came from the reference thing, Gale Global Issues. But as it turns out, Riley has already done some of her own research on the topic that we're doing, which is about Black History Month. As it turns out, she also has a source that has been cited. In fact, I'm looking on her screen, and she has her Works Cited page already ready to go. Go ahead and click on your Works Cited page. So if I'm not mistaken, the first thing that you found was that Ethel Waters article from Dictionary of American Biography. Is that correct? So the first thing we're going to do for this source is we're going to copy the citation from the works cited page that for Ethel Waters. So, and go ahead and go all the way to the end of it where it says accessed February 24th. We need all that information and go all the way to the front of it to Ethel and then hit Control C to copy. Now go ahead and click back into the document we just had open. And we're going to replace the information in where it says sports and drug use. We're going to get rid of that and we're going to replace it with what we just copied from the other source. And lo and behold, it is there. So now that we have this information in this digital note cards document, what we're going to do is scroll down a little bit and you'll notice that I have provided some bullet points of things that were in the source. We're actually going to delete all of those because those were what I wrote from that other source. We're going to get rid of those. And then what we're going to do instead for those bullet points is she's going to actually start borrowing information from the article. So I noticed that you have the article pulled up in another tab, the Ethel Waters article. Go ahead and take a look at it. So what was something that you wanted to borrow from the article that you knew you were going to have to talk about for your research paper? So where she was born was an important fact there and probably like some of her background, right? So obviously on the screen, you can see the article that we're referring to. Go ahead and highlight the part that you were going to summarize into your own words. So approximately that area right there, and yes, there's a highlighter function when you use this database. If you want to use it, you can, you don't have to. But that's essentially the information that she's going to be borrowing from right now. So what I'd like for you to do is now that you've read this information, go ahead and look at it for a second here. Decide how you're going to type it up into your digital note cards. So do you have an idea of what you're going to say? Yeah. Okay, so go back to that digital note cards. And then right there at that bullet point, go ahead and type what you have to say about Ethel Waters from what you learned there. So one of the things that we're trying to do in this video is we're trying to paraphrase. So we're going to try to change things into our own words as much as humanly possible. And so notice that instead of like copying and pasting from the article itself, Riley is actually looking back and forth between what's in the article and then how she's expressing it. So she's summarizing where she was born and some of the family background and her father. And I'm going to pause and let her finish typing the response there. So you got your fact there. All right, so the next thing that we got to do is we have to give credit where credit is due, following some rules. Now go ahead and scroll up in this document. And notice that the first piece of information is Ethel Waters. Now, it is very likely that we might have to modify this later because you're probably going to have more than one source whose name is Ethel Waters. You may now, we'll see. But for right now, the first piece of information that she needs to put inside of parentheses is parentheses Ethel Waters. Now, you don't mind if I do this for you right quick? So what the easiest way to do this to make sure it's correct is to simply select the lead information here and to copy it. And then when you scroll down to your bullet points, what you're going to do is parentheses, paste, close parenthesis, period. Now, what this indicates to me when I read those digital note cards is this indicates that this information wasn't something that Riley made up. This information that's listed here is information that Riley got from this source, and I know that this source then refers to this actual citation on the works cited page. Now, what I'm going to expect you to do then is you're going to continue to read the article as you go on, and you're going to add more and more bullet points to this. Now, I'm going to just type some random text simply because I'm pretending like I'm summarizing what's in the article. But at the end of that particular thing, the parentheses Ethel Waters has to be at the end of every single note that you take, which is why doing this digitally is really easy because then you have to type everything. You can just copy the citation that you did correctly and put it at the end of every single bullet point of what you borrow from the source that you're reading. So the purpose of this is A, you read your source. B, you find things that you know you're going to want to include in your paper. And C, you put them into the document itself, and then you give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to highlight the part that gives credit where credit is due. You give credit where credit is due every single bullet point by putting the parentheses and the lead information that's there. Now, for some of my students, the lead information, so this one is Ethel Waters. But let's say you have an author's last name as the lead information. Instead of it saying Ethel Waters, it would say parentheses and then that author's last name. So there's other scenarios that take place, but basically whatever is the lead information in the citation at the top needs to be the lead information that is inside of the parentheses at the end of each bullet point. So that is how you document that you're giving credit where credit is due on a source by source, piece of information basis. And that's how we're going to be doing things. Thank you.